in the way there. Okay, so thank you for joining today. I hope that last week was interesting, informative for you, the ethnography case study that I presented, which I almost finished it, so we'll do that. We'll do that at the beginning of the auto-ethnography today. It kind of, it flows anyway. So, but here is our plan. So we'll do a course check-in. We're also going to take a look ahead at the schedule, and I want to talk to you about your term project. Don't know how many of you have checked this week, but I have added a new option for you, a different option if you want to do something else for your term project. I've offered an option 2, so I'm going to talk to you about that. And then we'll get to my auto-ethnography. Because we've got to do some course business before I get to the auto-ethnography, we may not finish my auto-ethnography today because we also need to get on Second Life. So I'm going to, when it comes time for class break, I'm going to reassess like how much more auto-ethnography I want to do because I kind of would like to get this over with, to be honest. And kind of weigh that against what we were going to do on Second Life, which we'll still do. It will just have less time in class together in Second Life if I continue the auto-ethnography after the break. So we'll see. I may ask you guys how you're doing too, because you may be like tired of hearing about it. Okay. All right, course check-in. Who can tell me what you've got to do this week? Does anybody?
A quiz.
Yes, you've got a quiz. And what else?
Discussion 5.
Good, thank you. Yes, discussion. So if you are looking at your course schedule, here's what it looks like. So we're in week 7. I don't have a new reading for you this week in the book. That's one of the things I want to talk to you about. This is the next 3 weeks we'll be doing Second Life quizzes, meaning there will be things for you to find or do in Second Life, and then you answer questions about it on Canvas. So I'll give you a head start today. We'll take a look at some of what you're going to need to look for in order to do that quiz so that it won't be so difficult. And remember, you can always take the quizzes 3 times. So if you're having trouble figuring out the answer, you can take the quiz again. So yes, so the Second Life quiz is one of the things, as opposed to a reading quiz this week. We'll do that. And then your discussion 5, which was on the documentary film Ghost Heads about Ghostbusters fans. So make sure you make time to watch that this week before you attempt to go into the discussion forum. So both of those things you probably don't want to wait till Sunday to do those. Okay, just in case you have any issues whatsoever. All right. If we take a look at I'm trying to move ahead and it won't let me. There we go. At our schedule, I know this looks kind of stretched. I was trying to fit it here. So again, we're in week 7, right? You are turning your term project in the end of week 9. So you've got 1, 2, 3 weeks now to get it done. So I'm pointing this out so that you don't wait. Okay, because I would like to offer you the opportunity to ask questions. We won't do, if you're in any of my other classes or have been, where we go through every week and look at people's presentations and answer questions that way. We won't be doing that much in here, but you can always ask when we get started with class, and when I ask how's everybody's term projects going, you can always chime in then, but we won't do entire class sessions on that. So just letting you know what the coming weeks will hold. with respect to this, I wanted to tell you more about this option too. Okay, this being a class on participatory culture, I felt, and honestly, the first time I taught this class many, many years ago, I did offer this option. In fact, it wasn't just an option, it was a required thing. Students also did, in addition to their term project, they also did a blog. So I'm giving you an either or. When I taught the class then, it was a semester long. It was not at EOU, it was a whole semester long. So there was more time to do all these things. The caveat, there's a couple caveats with this. It's not just a blog where you're just shooting the breeze. You must incorporate actual vocabulary from this class. And I'm hoping when I go through my auto-ethnography today, I'm going to give you lots of examples of how you can incorporate course vocabulary into your own experiences, into your own participatory culture experiences. So it doesn't have to feel as academic as it sounds right now. You'll see what I mean when we get there. This is also why my auto-ethnography takes a while, because I throw a lot of terminology in intentionally to give you examples of, see, if you want to talk about this, you can talk about this, and you use this vocabulary word to talk about it, and there you go. So the thing with the Second Life blog is to make it fair to the other students who want to do the auto-ethnography presentation instead, this needs to be substantial. This blog is not going to be this little, one sentence here, one sentence there that you post. I'm going to require a certain number of posts depending on which kind of platform you choose to do this on. So at least this minimum number of posts must contain the course vocabulary. You can do other posts that aren't so academic, but at least if you're doing a traditional type of blog, okay, like using WordPress, Blogger, even YouTube, doing a video blog, okay, a vlog with a V, I want you to do 3 because you do have, remember I said you've got 3 weeks left for this before this is due. So consider 1 a week, right? And make it at least a couple paragraphs a piece if you're doing words. YouTube, yeah, I'm not going to be picky about how long that needs to be, but obviously, a couple minutes probably, maybe maybe a minute. But I think you need to get with a YouTube thing. You need to video. You need to talk a little bit more than that, or show us a little bit more than that. If you choose to do, I'm allowing you to do social media too, or instead, right? Instead of a traditional blog. So if you want to post, say, photos, images, screenshots of things you do or see on Second Life, on Flickr or Instagram. So those will be more, obviously images based. Tools with less words like that, and Twitter too. I'm going to require 5 posts. Now remember, you still need to incorporate course vocabulary into those. So you'll have to get creative when you're thinking of, like images. How would I talk about our course content with images? Well, you absolutely can. And again, today, after I go through my auto-ethnography, I think you'll begin to see the applications if you're having trouble thinking about how this might apply to you and your own experiences. So the other caveat with this Second Life blog is, I know a lot of you are going to groan and be like, what is this? Required twist. You must write the blog from the perspective and the identity of your Second Life avatar, not as you. So like if I were to do one, and I am going to do one, I'm going to do one with you because I've never done one of these before. It's only fair, right? So instead of me writing a blog from Tony Anderson's perspective and calling it Tony Anderson's blog or something, right? I am going to do one of my avatars. I'm not sure if I'm going to do Professor Owo. I might do it. But I'll speak from the perspective of that avatar. I mean, I probably will do Professor Owo because I want to talk about our experience as a class trying to get on Second Life together. I would like to blog about that. I think it would be a good thing. Um, and it will help me kind of process what's going on. So, but I want you to write about your experiences on Second Life as a new user. What are you struggling with? What don't you like? What do you like? Are you going to like abandon this thing as soon as this class is over? That's totally fine. You can say that. Okay. But I wanted to give you the option. This is for those who feel like presentations are daunting, having to record yourself. And remember, your presentation is just your audio. It's not going to be your video of you, unless you want to do that. The other, but the thing with the blog is, so there's pros and cons to each one. The thing with the blog is that's public, right? So there's going to be people, other Second Life users likely, discovering you, what you say, maybe following you, maybe commenting if you allow comments. So as far as getting help on doing this, again, remember, I'm going to be doing this for the first time myself. Now, I do know some of the tools, but I've not made an official public blog before. I've got a private blog, private journal that I keep, but so I know WordPress. I know YouTube, as in posting things to YouTube. And I know Twitter fairly well in terms of having accounts there. But this assignment will require you to create a brand new account. So don't do it on your existing Twitter or your existing blog or existing YouTube channel or whatever. In fact, with a YouTube channel, I think you have to have a channel. I think you have to have so many users or something to call it your channel. So I'm not quite sure how the YouTube thing is going to do aside from you just posting videos in your existing, because you can have a YouTube account set up through EOU if you've never used it before. So where you post videos to it. Okay, any questions? I know that's probably, I've thrown a lot at you there and you're probably like, oh my God, what? Keep in mind the deadline if you are going to attempt Second Life blog. The first opportunity for extra credit to turn in your whole term project early is this Friday. So you're probably less likely to want to do that if you're going to do the Second Life blog, because that's a lot of work for you this week. That's a lot for you to get done when you haven't been already kind of planning ahead and thinking about it. So keep that in mind. But I would like to see some of you do a blog. I think that would be fun. And we can absolutely, if you want, once we each set up our respective accounts, link to each other, right? Like I would intend, if it's okay with you, when I set up Professor Owo's, whatever it's going to be, probably a WordPress, what I'm most familiar with, and I tend to be wordy, so Twitter is not going to be too wordy for Twitter, for the purposes of this assignment. So I would like to be able to say, yeah, these are my students. Here's their avatar blogs, and link to them. But again, only if you want me to. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if you guys like after this, this is just an experiment for us. So after this, you'd be like, I'm never going to use that blog again. Like shut it down, deactivate it, whatever. And I'm just interested too, like I said, if I post one myself, who would even care? Like what kind of readership are these things going to get? I don't know. But the reason I ask you to do it from your avatar's perspective is when and I provide a bunch of examples on Canvas. I've created a new module, I think called Examples of Second Life Blogs or something. All of those are written from the avatar's name, right? They're not the person's real name. That's just a practice when people on Second Life do external social media. That's what they do. So, okay, any questions? And we can continue to talk about this as the weeks go by. please make sure you go check out the new stuff I posted on Canvas about it. And in case you do have questions, there's not a lot of detail there because it's essentially what I just shared with you. Okay, and that might be something if you guys already are into, really big on social media or into blogging or vlogging, that might appeal to you. So I'd be interested to see. Okay, with that, I'm now going to move to my auto-ethnography, and let's see, hang on, I've got alarms going off everywhere. So yeah, we won't get done by break. Looking at the time, I didn't think we would, but we'll see how this goes. And I hope that you enjoy and appreciate this today. I'm going to close this presentation because my auto-ethnography is part of a different document. So let me get out of this. Okay, close that one. Okay, so the reason I was taking some time to back up my files before class today. Number one, computer's been acting flaky. It's just like one of those things. So now I'm like, after everything I do now, I'm like saving it elsewhere because I don't know how long I'm going to be able to operate without maybe reinstalling stuff. But two, you guys are going to laugh. Okay, so I have this thing where I have zapped hard drives before, like literally, like carry around static electricity. And I actually should be using. I do have an anti-static. You can buy them, like a wristband, and it's supposed to connect. You're supposed to ground it, and all this stuff. And it gets worse when I've got a lot of, so weird, when I've got a lot of like anxiety or energy, really seriously, it never fails. My computers like break, and things, just electronics for me, break at the worst times. And I've figured out over the years it's the static situation, because every time a hard drive or a motherboard has gotten zapped, and I tell whoever I'm trying to get to help me fix it, they're like, you need an anti-static mat. So anyway, I've already been having trouble and working on this auto-ethnography. Okay, so this has been the auto-ethnography, you should know, again, is way longer than what you need to create. And it was part of my 4-year long dissertation that I did for my doctorate. So the auto-ethnography was a portion of it. So just know that this is a lot of information. And every time I've taught this class, I've had to I chose rather to revisit, because there's been so many years in between each time I teach this. It's just changing next year. I think I mentioned that to you guys already. I'm actually getting to teach it twice next year, which is exciting. And then from then on, I think every year it'll be twice a year. But the last time I taught this was 2019. And so my perspective, and this is something for you to know as well, when you do something like this, create an auto-ethnographic study about yourself, your perspective is going to change over the years, right? And so mine has changed many times since I first did this. And when I went back, I started looking at it last week because I knew I was going to be doing this for you guys. And then I revisited it again yesterday, queen of procrastination. When I get to some of the detail of this, you'll maybe see why it's so loaded for me, like emotionally loaded, and why I kind of didn't want to deal with it. So, because I revisited it yesterday because I was like, I have got to cut this thing down. Students, you guys are going to get so bored. And so I did cut it down, but it's still not going to be, we're not going to get done by 10:50 today. So, anyway, so with that said, I've been some of the stuff you're going to hear is very personal to me and some of it's very upsetting too. And so, like I already mentioned to you guys before, my best friend, who was a Duran Duran fan with me, died last year, and so there's a lot about her in here. And um, with respect to things like that, I just didn't want to deal. I just didn't want to look at this and have to face it, you know. So, not to say this is a bad autoethnographic study or a sad one or anything. It's just loaded. It's just loaded. So, um, there might be parts, just so you know, and I hope that you will respect this, for those who are watching, of this being recorded. I may pause the recording at times. There's some things I want to say that I don't really feel comfortable being recorded. So, and I want to kind of offer you guys this option as well. Okay. For your own autoethnographies, not everybody's going to do things that are touch them so deeply, right? But if you do, and you have an issue with having to post it in the mini symposium, like your voice speaking it, here's my recommendation. You're going to submit it to me privately through Canvas, right? I still have to see it. But if you don't want it ever shared publicly, I will never share it publicly. Um, what you can do, I still need you to post something in the mini symposium though. So what you cat fur flying. So what you can do is kind of like what I'm going to do today. I'm going to tell you a lot more than what you see on these slides. You can post your slides to the mini symposium and indicate the reason there's no audio. Just be like, this was extremely personal to me, and feel free to comment on what you see, but I didn't put everything in. Okay. So so for me today, since we're recording this via Zoom, I may pause at some point. And I haven't decided where yet. It just depends how I'm feeling when we get there. Okay. All right, you guys ready? Ready for this? Okay. So, oops. I can't get rid of my Zoom window. Stop it. Okay. All right. Okay, so just to recap, if you missed last time or if you just need to remember where we stopped. So I'm just going to do a quick, after I do this recap, I'll tell you what I was going to tell you last time, and then we'll jump into my autoethnography. Okay. So recapping last time, I told you about my initial research questions when I started the research on popular music fans, um, and how I narrowed that focus, right? And I was looking at fandom in one's teens or adolescence, and then versus now as adults. I shared with you the various investigative methods that I used, all ethnographic. And then I shared with you the results of the research, which were themes and trends. I share with you a bunch of the fun cultural practices that I discovered that fans do, some things I didn't know about, but that I participated in after I found out about them, such as the flats, the little cutout dolls of each of the band members. I still think those things are hilarious. And then the unexpected findings about the cultural hierarchy and the extremely I'm going to use the word political, but I don't mean political as in like US politics. The political nature of the hierarchy, politics among fans, dynamics, really dysfunctional group. Okay, and you'll hear a lot more about that today, which is also part of why I may press pause on the recording from time to time and be like, I don't want this out there. Okay. Um, all right, so this is where I stopped last time. I was going to share with you how fans responded to me doing this research in their fan community. So, first group, the original British fans. Well, let me ask you this because I already kind of gave you a hint last time. Let's get some participation happening here, so you're not just sitting here listening, being bored. What do you think the original British fans' response to me was? let me ask you this. Are you a fan of anything, and would you appreciate an academic coming in and researching you?
I feel like they were probably kind of defensive at first.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, yes, definitely. That was Macy. Yes, thank you. And Bryson, that would be cool for me to, oh, it would be cool to have an academic come in. Okay, so it just depends, right? It depends on the person and kind of their relationship to the fan object. So if you remember last week, I mentioned that the original British fans actually knew Duran Duran personally back in the day. And so they feel some kind of ownership for them and protective of them in a way. So their response to me was hostility, big, big, big hostility, which made it hard because, I went to England to conduct this research, right? Like I lived there for 4 years and I had one Duran fan friend there who's not British, well, I guess who's not English, she's Scottish. So I kind of wondered if there was something to that. But I had a lot of other Duran fan friends there, but they didn't live in Great Britain. So I only saw them if I traveled to their countries in Europe. Um, so there's now the European fans. Okay. So I did focus groups and things in Europe. Because the British fans did not. I mean, like I tried one focus group there and it got completely derailed the day of. Like flaming started online and all the people who were going to participate got bullied into not participating. It was just ridiculous. So European fans, they were actually really great. They were probably the best group, and the groupies too. Surprise, surprise. I don't know any group. Well, I do know one, I guess, in the European nations. Most of the groupies I know are here in the U.S. The groupies were very, very nice. I don't know. A lot of this just I did not expect. The responses I got, I just did not expect it. I figured the groupies would be the most protective, the most like get away from my band, get away from my man. um, so the European fans were fantastic, and so were the groupies. The my home fan community. So this is people in when at the time that I started this research, I was living in Dallas, Texas. So my home fan community was the fans in Dallas, and there were a lot of them. Um, they were part of my research very early on, because I kind of didn't know what I was doing yet. I was kind of new to this. And so I did my first focus group with them and gave them the survey before anybody else and started conducting interviews with them first. One of the things that was interesting about them was on the surface, they acted like they supported me. But in the end, they actually were trying to control the research. They didn't like it when they saw it taking on a certain direction. They felt I was doing the wrong thing. They had a lot of opinions. So I guess because they knew me well, they felt like they could do that. Okay. And then there's this last group, which was the most actually more worrying, concerning, and saddening to me than the original British fans being hostile. And that was I hardly got any response out of, I want to say, the Duran fan community, like the paying members. And this is just people who pay to be on the fan community website to get access to like VIP tickets and whatever. 100,000 people worldwide. Surely there are more fans than that who aren't on there or don't pay. Because, like, for example, I think I mentioned to you, I don't pay anymore because I don't participate in any of that anymore. So it's a waste of money for me. But everybody else, complete silence. Like, including people that had been friendly with me on the fan forum and including people who I'd actually met at concerts, just poof, gone. I was like, wow, what did I do? You know? There's some reasons, there's some ways to rationalize this away, but there's also just the nature of this particular fan community is exceptionally political. um, as I mentioned, and so I think that is the biggest part of this, and I'll talk more about that when I get really into my autoethnography today. But one of the main things is fandom is largely an affective practice. An affective meaning with an A, meaning emotional, right? Um, and most most people, well, let's say people who don't know what I was trying to do, who aren't familiar with academics who study things from a subjective point of view, right? And not so scientific, right? They didn't recognize that I was not coming in there to judge them and to psychoanalyze them, right? Because one of the things we don't want to do in fan research is to pathologize people and judge them for their behavior and their practices. So I think that was the biggest thing, is that this is kind of new to people outside academia. They didn't know what it was, and they just didn't want me there analyzing them. This is what they thought I was going to do. And in a sense, I guess I was. So that's that. Um, so this caused me a great deal, because of that fan reaction, a great deal of challenges as I conducted this research. So the first thing is I was investigating a community from the inside, that already there was a pre-existing dynamic there, and I am part of it. For me to say this fan community is extremely dysfunctional and political, well, I am in it too, or was. And when I share some more stories with you, you'll see just how in it I was. I was very much making choices, doing things that were, I think, making the politics worse, without my meaning to, just making bad choices. Um, so obviously, when you're investigating a community of which you're already a part of it, you have trust from some people in the community. But at the same time, I had trouble gaining distance and from this, especially with difficult fans, writing about them in a way that was respectful and did them justice. And I'll share more about the details of that as I move forward. So that is why my autoethnography is so difficult, and then why have revisited it once every several years, because I don't like to look at it or think about it. And I really don't like getting it. It sucks me back down again, as if I'm actually reliving some of this stuff. So um, I hope that, I know this is sounding like really awful, right? But I hope that you'll enjoy this, because it's really juicy. There's some juicy juicy details. For example, hang on. I need to hang on. Will this let me? Will it let me stop? I'm gonna pause. Darn it. I don't think it'll let me stop. I'm going to pause recording. Here we go. Think should be on the internet. Okay. All right. Okay, so here is my introduction to my autoethnography. So if you're familiar with The Godfather, and even if you're not familiar with The Godfather, oh, I've got my quotes messed up there. Those don't look right. My quote marks are backwards. You've probably heard this. Who was it? Al Pacino that said it? I forget which actor said it, but just when I was out, they pulled me back in. That is my story of here. Let me do this. I'm going to do something. Hang on. The reason I say this, I'm gonna fast forward. Oops, and then come right back to that again. Here is why. Oops, hang on. I know the screen sharing stopped. This is essentially what I'm going to share with you at the end, but this is why I use that Godfather quote. I have quit the fan community and or being a fan of Duran Duran 7 times. And each time I delete Duran Duran from my playlist because I just can't bear to hear them. Um, and every time I do this auto-ethnography business again for class, I get sucked in again because I start, like, for example, I wanted to pick some video clips for you today. I only picked one just for the sake of time, but which caused me back on YouTube looking at Duran Duran videos all over again. I was like, stop it! Like I don't know how long last night watching something, like realizing I'd watched 30 minutes of it and being like, what am I doing? I need I need to be working. Stop it. Anyway, okay, so that's a rupture, right? When you stop being a fan of something or stop participating in something for a while. Okay, so let me see. Let me go back up to wherever we were. Hang on, I gotta stop share so I can find it. Okay, there it was. Okay, so we were there. All right, so to recap terminology that you already know, but just to recap why we're doing this. So an autoethnography is not an autobiography. It's a self-reflexive study of your own behavior and tastes, values, attachments, and investments, and you run that through a systematic analysis. Okay. And you'll notice I got lazy. I need should be putting the page number, but at least I'm citing. That is from the glossary of our textbook. All right. Okay, so the auto-ethnographic methods I use to do this, and by this point, we should all know what these things are, right? I'm going to share with you briefly because I already kind of did do a Discovery Stories border crossings example, right? We'll recap, we'll look at that again. That's part of my auto-ethnography. I'll tell you about how I use the multi-fandom approach to kind of analyze my fandom. And then the last thing and the biggest part and the biggest contribution, actually, I feel, to other ethnographers to that field is the analysis of my own affect while trying to do this research and my challenges with being my subjective challenges with having difficulties with those fans and writing about them in a way that did them justice, right? Okay. So also, the typology I attempted, if you watch, hopefully you watched the video on how to do the term project, right? The auto-ethnography option 1 now, right? Because you have another option, which is Second Life blog. So there were 4 typologies that you can use. I attempt the analytical interpretive typology, which is the traditional research format where I had research questions, right? And I had findings or results, and then I try to analyze the results. So it winds up being largely confessional emotive, that style of autoethnography. You'll see why when we get there, but I've already hinted to you that it's extremely emotional for me. So okay. So to recap what the confessional emotive style is, authors freely interject their feelings, emotions, and opinions into the report, often outing themselves in the process of their research. So remember the other styles that you can use, there's a descriptive realistic style, and there's also the imaginative creative style. So again, watch that. If you haven't looked at the term project video, watch that to get a better idea of what those are so you can identify it when you're doing your own autoethnography. All right. So here is where, I guess this was my reminder. I actually had this when I was teaching it last time too, but my reminder to maybe, press pause on the recording sometimes. Anyway, your discretion is really appreciated because this is hard. This is hard for me to go into again. Okay. So you may remember this. I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but my border crossings in life, some of them corresponded with my discovery story of Duran Duran. So I'll talk about that for a minute. So my first sighting of them was we had moved to, I had been in, so I started out in Texas, but then we moved to California and then we moved back to Texas. So it was really hard when we moved back because my best friend was still in California. So we would go every summer and visit her. And one of the summers that I went to visit her, she had her family had cable and we didn't have cable. And they were playing several Duran Duran videos that summer. A lot of them, like Rio is one of them. That's what you see here on this picture. Hungry Like the Wolf. I forget what other videos were out at that time, but she tried to get me into Duran Duran. Let's put it this way, I wasn't quite there yet. She tried to get me into Duran Duran by getting me to watch these videos, and then she had a poster on the back of her bedroom door, and she was like all obsessed over that. And again, I wasn't sold yet. I was like, these guys look weird. I don't know. Like, why do you like these guys so much? And then she got me listening to she had a cassette tape of their albums. So, um, one of the things with the videos that turned me off, I was too young. I was too young to appreciate them yet. Is, for example, their very first, was it their very first video? I think it was their second video, was called Girls on Film. It's about porn. Okay, so and you can't even read that sign. There's something, I remember there was something really funny that they put on that banner, but I can't read it now to tell you what it was. I think it's something like, some people will do anything for money or something. That's what they said. And this is when they were just starting out, which is why they did this really raunchy video, hoping to get played or to get banned. And they did get banned from both MTV and from BBC. And as you can see here, there's a picture of them on the couch with a woman who's topless. So yeah, anyway. Their lyrics were also very grown up, and a lot of kids I knew really liked this song in particular, Save a Prayer. Didn't even know what the heck it was about. I did. I was like, I don't know about this. Like, I was like really not sure about these guys. So let me just read you the main line that's kind of like, okay, so, and you wanted to dance, so I asked you to dance, but fear is in your soul. Some people call it a one night stand, but we can call it paradise. Don't say a prayer for me now, save it till the morning after. Um, yeah, so a lot of my friends, like, really, Carrie in California was not the only one, right? There were a lot of friends at my junior high school who were, like, loving this song, and I'm like, you guys know what he's talking about, right? Like, anyway, and maybe that's why some of those girls liked it, honestly, and I wasn't grown up enough to appreciate it. But Hungry Like the Wolf in particular, and you'll maybe get to see, I'm going to show you a clip later from a documentary, or actually, I don't know if it's a documentary, it's sort of like an ad for a documentary, where they show a bunch of old and new Duran stuff. And so they may have, I know they at least play the song, Hungry Like the Wolf, but I don't remember if they've got many images from the video itself. But anyway, so these are some, and I was just really intimidated as an 11-year-old watching this. I was really intimidated by this guy. Like, I thought he was really scary. Funny things that affect us as we grow up. So, relationship to other fan objects. This is the multi-fandom bit that I told you about. So if you're a fan of lots of things, you might want to consider doing this as part of your auto-ethnography. So I think I mentioned to you, I was a fan of video games. I really also liked Disney, and in fact, I liked Warner Brothers cartoons. And by that, I mean the really old ones, like from the 1950s, like Bugs Bunny. I loved Bugs Bunny. I mentioned I liked Michael Jackson, and then I also mentioned I liked Christopher Reeve and Superman. And I also liked Harrison Ford from Raiders and Star Wars. And I think one of the things but I really liked Harrison Ford in Raiders. And one of the things I think that really appealed to me about this is where I connect. Okay, this is what you're supposed to do when you do multi-fandom research. You connect the dots. Like, what's the connection here with these guys? It was that they each had the secret identity, right? And they did something else, or they were hiding who they really were, right? I liked it. I liked that because I think this is why I liked it anyway. Why that appealed to me. I had such a hard home life, and I hid that from kids at school and anybody who tried to get to know me. I didn't want to let them know how screwed up my family was because I felt like I would be judged, right? So if I back up a slide for a second, so keep in mind Harrison Ford in Raiders, okay, and right there he looks like the professor, but remember he usually looks like this swashbuckling. Oh, we're at the break time mark, so yeah, I didn't get very far at all. Um, he usually looked kind of like. If I can back up a slide, it won't go. Come on, man. That, like this guy does right here. And in fact, when they did this video, if you ever look it up on YouTube or whatever, they modeled the entire, it came out like either the year after Raiders or the year of Raiders. They modeled the entire look of it on Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's like an actual, there's when he's sitting here, he's in this very kind of Mediterranean Arab looking like pub or something, which looks just like the one that Harrison Ford was in a couple of times in that film. So, okay, relationship to other fan objects, part 2. I seem to like British celebrities, okay, and British things. So here's one of the Queen's corgis. I don't know which one. I don't know their names. I don't know. I'm not as much of a follower of the royal family as I feel like I am because I don't even know. I just know there's a bunch of corgis. And I love corgis too. And you may have noticed the sleeping corgi at our classroom location in Second Life. It's because I really want one, but I can't have more than 2 pets at my house. My landlord won't let me. So right now I've just got a couple cats. Someday I'll get a corgi. So I also really like the television show Sherlock, the BBC version, with Benedict Cumberbatch, and is that Martin Freeman? Is that his name? I know it's Freeman, but I forget his first name. And then Hugh Laurie from House. So the trend, how does all of that connect to Duran Duran? Well, Duran Duran's British, but also they represent, I think, a very non-traditional masculinity. Well, I mean, they wear makeup, one thing, and you'll get to see in a little bit. I know I really haven't shown you much about them yet, but you'll get to see a little bit more about who they are, what they look like, how they are, right? Definitely more on the effeminate side, I would say. Okay. All right, so then I may have mentioned some of this to you before, but I don't think I went into much detail. So for me, even though a lot of fans that I interviewed were kind of isolated in their childhoods from other fans, like they didn't know how to connect with other fans, they didn't know where the other fans were, right? We didn't have the internet then. I always had best friends who were Duranis, so it was always in my life from like age 11 on. So it started out with Carrie, who doesn't live in California anymore. She's now moved to Hawaii, so I'm dying to go see her. We talk about it all the time, but it never happens. It's me. It's money. It's so expensive. And then Sonia, who I'm still friends with, but she's moved also, and I've moved, so we're on opposite ends of the country right now. And then Christina is the one who died, so best friend in adolescence, teenhood, and through adulthood. And then Elizabeth is, I wouldn't call her really I guess my best friend, but she's my best Durani friend at present, because my best friend now is a guy named Lloyd. who lives in Texas. So he is not a fan. He is very much not a fan. And after I share with you all of the craziness that I've experienced as part of the Duran fandom, you will probably appreciate why he is not a fan and why he doesn't want me to be one either. There's a few things at play here. So at this point, I'm going to have us take a break, if you don't mind. Let's come back. Okay, it's 10:54. So let's come back at like 11:04. I know it's a weird time. 11:04, 11:05. And I will tell you a bit more. We'll continue with the auto-ethnography a bit more, see how far we get, and then we'll hop on Second Life. How's that sound? Everybody doing okay? Not falling asleep yet? Okay, so go grab some coffee or a snack or whatever, and I'll see you back here in about 10 minutes. Okay. Oh, I see a cat. Cute. Okay, bye guys. Okay, is everybody back? I never can find there it is. Once I lose my, okay, great. Thank you for your reactions. Once I lose my video panel of you guys, everything's floating for the host in Zoom. It's so frustrating. I wish it was like it is for participants where it's all one window. Because I guess it's made this way so that we can have like other things open and toggle between programs. I don't know, but to me it's not very user friendly. Okay, so I just shared with you about who my Duran fan friends were, or that my best friends have always been Duranis. So as an adult, I am so I only went to one Duran concert as a teen, and I was 16. I snuck out to go to it because I wasn't allowed to go to Duran concerts. um, there was a perception that it was like Beatlemania, and it was. And that concerts were dangerous, and they were. So that's why I wasn't allowed to go. But there was a good 20-year gap. Yeah, about 20-year gap. And I didn't see them again in concert. And so I really wasn't part of a fan community. Christina was still, hell-bent Duran Duran. And when the internet happened, she was like constantly, I remember I would be at work, right? She'd be like sending me things, like all of this, like she was so excited to like rediscover Duran Duran through the internet, right? As we were adults. And I would be like, I don't have time to watch this stuff. What is all this stuff, right? And I admittedly didn't watch half of it. And I wasn't there with her. So it didn't, my rediscovery didn't happen until my divorce, which I think I mentioned to you guys last time. And the community of mostly women that I discovered was like a new family for me. And so one of the things I need to share now, and this is part of the auto-ethnographic portion, in that I try to analyze my own attachments and my own issues. And that is because of having a difficult home life. Having this community as as sort of a family, adopted family for me, was a big deal. It was a really big deal, and I never felt, even among friends as a kid, probably because of my upbringing, I always had isolated pockets, like isolated friends. I never had a big group of girlfriends, just didn't. And I also didn't get to act like a teenager when I was a teenager. A lot of responsibilities were thrust on me that a lot of teens don't have, I think. And so it helped me to kind of find myself, my inner child, I guess. When I joined the fan community, it was really um, a special time at first. Okay, so here's some of those photos. I mentioned the European Duranis. There are they and the Dallas Duranis. They are both two pictures of them. And then um, I went to a Duran fan conference in, I think it was in Charlotte, and that's where this photo was taken. So it was Duran fans from all over. Um, okay, and I know I mentioned this about my reunion, the reunion concert, which was a reunion for the band and a reunion for me with the band too, right? And it was the year that I separated from my ex-husband. So again, I'm not like saying one caused the other or anything like that. It's just an interesting overlap. So one of the things that I felt at that show, and I should have pulled up, oh, it was so cool. My best friend said something, and I quoted it in my dissertation. And I think she said something like she'd never seen me act like that, like at this reunion show. She had never seen me act that animated before, not even as when we were teenagers, um, including going to the Duran show when we were teenagers when I snuck out. But the only way that I can describe why I think I felt the way I did, and really it's hard to analyze and describe deeply felt emotion, right? But what I was feeling was what Duffett describes in your textbook as communitas, which is feeling blissfully united at large festive public events and realizing that you are at one with the community. So I felt that. I definitely felt that. And then also I've got his definition of affect, just so we can all be clear on what that is. It often used as a shorthand for emotion, but it really is deeper. It has greater impact and resonance. Let's see. So my effective firsts then. First time front row with Duran Duran, and it was, God, it was a, you want to talk about like fandom being an obsession or an addiction? This is what, it was bad. It was really bad. This is what kept me coming back. After the first time I did this, I was spoiled rotten, and there was no way I was ever going to do a show again without being front row. Like I don't even enjoy a Duran concert anymore unless I'm right in the front. And how often do you get to be front row at a show for a big band, right? I don't mean like a local band is a little easier, perhaps, maybe. But so yeah, it's really difficult to be front row. It costs a lot of money if you can manage to even get a ticket in the first place. So I don't do this anymore. You should know I don't have the money to do this. um, Okay, so with respect to that front row experience, I'm going to analyze that a little bit more. And here, you notice I've been putting vocab at the top. This is where I'm like basically saying, here's how you can incorporate course terminology, vocabulary right into your autoethnography. So Duffett talks about this term totem, which is a star who has the charisma to magnetize a committed audience. And he talks about totemism, which is the capacity for a star to acquire, guide, and lead their fan base. We frequently think of this as charisma. Okay, it's a quality of the fan object seeming larger than life. So for me, that's definitely something I was experiencing. These are my photos, by the way, that I took at these various shows. So when I go back, whoops, this front row. Well, no, I didn't take that one, but that was when I wasn't allowed to attend concerts. So, but these are mine. And where'd it go? Oh, I thought I had one. Okay. I think there's another one coming up. Yeah, there it is. And then there's these. So this was really super effective. The first time I realized, it was funny because it was sort of like, yes, of course, obviously, we know these humans on this stage are people and they're not just objects for us to look at, right? So the first time he looked at me looking at him, I was like, what? Like it was like this weird like disconnect in my brain. I was like, it was like your cat talking to you one day or something. You know what I mean? It was like, this isn't supposed to happen. He's not supposed to see me here. Anyway, um, I will say, I think I've shared a little bit about my personality with you guys. I'm a really shy person, and I was especially shy, still am, with respect to men staring at me or looking at me. And um, the first time this happened, now obviously I was doing front row, so it's going to happen ultimately, right? He's going to make eye contact. The first time it happened was at the first Broadway show. So it happened the very first time I did the front row. And during the intermission, the Broadway shows were so long that they actually had an intermission because they were treating it like an actual play, right? And during the intermission, my friend Elizabeth, who I mentioned to you as my current, adult best Durani friend, said to me, "Have you noticed Simon has been seeming like he's trying to make eye contact with you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I look away every time because that's what I do anytime someone I don't know is looking at me, like man or woman, right? But especially because he's a guy and I have a crush on him, so I'm really uncomfortable like, looking away." And she's like, "You gotta try maintaining eye contact." And I was like, "Oh man, that's gonna be so hard. It's gonna be so hard." So I did. And it was a really moving encounter for me. And so there is a way to analyze. I will share with you a little bit more about how I felt, but here's the academic term to describe how I felt. All right. Effervescence, also in our glossary in our textbook, is an intense emotional response that followers have when their heroes offer them attention. So it feels like a zap, like a life-changing jolt of electricity, right? You feel it on a primal and mysterious level. It's also, here's how I would describe it. For me, it was physiological, like that feeling in your stomach that I don't get anymore, but I used to get it as a teen when I would have a crush on a boy and the boy would pay me attention. You get that like adrenaline thing, and people call it butterflies, right? I guess that's what it felt like. And so when this happened, and I mean, I was, like I said, I was like way beyond teenhood at this stage, just gotten divorced. No guys have been paying me any attention. And then that happened, and I was like, huh? What? Like this, I don't understand what's happening. I don't know how to act. I don't know how to react. So this was me. Very much deer in headlights. And because when he held the gaze, when I held the gaze and he held the gaze, at first there was no, like, I was terrified. I didn't know what had just hit me, and then he smiled, and then I was like, oh, phew. Like, I don't know. I felt like I was being judged. I know I wasn't. It's all in my head, I'm quite sure. But I just felt like he's got a really intense stare. And I just felt like I was being judged or something. Like, who the hell are you? That's what I felt like he was looking at me. Anyway, so this little image is me kind of indicating that was the beginning of the Duran vortex for me. It's like, woo! After that, things got crazy. So I will share a bit about that, but I won't go into great detail. Um, for various reasons. But so one of the things I want to say to keep this, on the academic level, right? This autoethnography, my autoethnography emphasizes two problems with the subjective approach to doing research. One is how to treat your research subject. In this case, it was other fans with respect. And the second thing is any interactions with the fan object, meaning the celebrity or producer, can complicate the process. Okay, so keep those in the back of your head. We'll start with the first one. First one, treating the research subject with respect. Okay. All right. So a researcher I met in the UK named Martin Barker wrote this. He wrote this long before I met him, though. What do you do if among the people you are studying there is someone whom you heartily and with good reason dislike? So I've mentioned to you that some of the British fans gave me grief. So this applies. He also said Barker was talking about he had interviewed a fan who was fascist. And it really disturbed him, this conversation that he was having with this person. So he wrote, when he wrote about that, he said a central tenet seems to be that the researcher must acknowledge the social relations that they have with their object of study, but that has been taken to mean that we are in the business of empowering audiences, that we ought even to like them. So where my issues are concerned, so there's the British Duranis I've told you about. They're the quote unquote mean girls of of Duran fandom, and there's me with them. Surprise, surprise. At one point, we were, like I said, I was some things, some of my activities, put it that way, in the end made things worse. And at one point, I was affiliated with these people. So talk about doing some introspection, self-reflexive analysis. So remember I told you about durantard.com, which has been taken down, thank goodness, which is a place where fans would go to make fun of other fans. It was really a horrible, horrible website. Um, in 2010, around when I was doing my research in England, Cousinets wrote a book called Netnography, which is doing ethnography on the internet. So what I was doing at the time was actually quite new then. So Cousinets wrote that some of the most interesting occurrences in the world of netnography are occurring in the tension between the researcher and culture members, as those members actively resist being studied. So this is what was happening to me in a big way. These women were the ones who derailed my attempts at doing a focus group or any kind of research at all on and with British Duran fans. So your book goes into the different kinds of academic fans, right? And one of the types is the ACA fan. Okay. So my ACA fan identity became a problem. Here, I'm going to do this for a sec. Hold on. One of those places I want to stop sharing. Okay. With the British fans, basically, my activities incited fan politics over turf and their perceived ownership of the band. One of them threatened a lawsuit of me if I didn't stop doing the research. And I became othered by them. I mean, they are the cool kids, right, of the fan community. So because of their connections to the band. So I became othered in the fan community. Like they just smeared me, all over, excluded to the point that I quit going online. And I don't participate anymore. But okay, let me come back. Make sure I continue recording. Hold on. Screen sharing. Oh, screen sharing was paused. Oh well, I restored. So okay, so screen sharing was paused, but I was still talking. Oh well, that's fine. Um, okay, so why did they have such a problem with me? So one of the things is this, I believe. a term in your textbook. Um, think about the geek chart. Remember the hierarchy? So cultural capital describes how people use our kind of learned affiliations of taste to place ourselves just above or anyone else who is close to them on a social hierarchy. So I think that there was some perception that I was a threat somehow in the hierarchy, and that was the issue. Um, so here were the things that I was doing. Like I really did not see where my involvement was a problem. I did later. I do understand now. I see it. But I didn't then. So at the time, my cultural capital, my currency was getting photographs at shows or with band members and getting their autographs. And what you see here was the very first time at the top that I met Simon, the lead singer. That's my photo, so he hadn't gotten to me yet. He was moving down the line. And then that one below is I snuck on set. I snuck on set when nobody was on the stage and took that photo with the drum. um, okay. So obviously, that's the kind of thing, like if you post that, which I did in the fan community, forum or website, other fans will be like, oh, how did she get that? Like, and especially if you don't detail how you got it. Like I didn't detail that no one let me on the stage. I just put it right. So I'm obviously causing drama by doing that. I was like, how did she get that? Okay. So the second issue is, and I'm aware of time, so I'm trying to speed it up here. The second issue is with doing the subjective approach to research. Okay, any interactions with the fan object themselves, a celebrity or producer, will complicate the process. It says can, but it will. It's going to complicate the process. So I believe that is the second reason why I experienced so much hostility from some members of the fan community. They felt I was moving in on their territory. And I will explain more about what I mean in a second. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to finally show you who Duran Duran is. Okay. Now I'm going to tab over to, because I already loaded this, so please let me know if you can see it when I get it open. All right, do you see something? Can anybody, here, let me take a look so I can see where my video, show video panel. Can you guys give me a reaction if you can see Duran Duran? There's something you should know. It should be black. Okay, great. Yeah, there's nothing there yet. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, you guys ready? All right, this is about 3 minutes, but it shows Duran Duran today, Duran Duran yesterday, and a little bit about their personality, and a little bit about why there's a reason I'm kind of sharing some of this with you. So hopefully this will stream okay. I've not done this via Zoom before, I don't think. Okay, let's see. How do I play it? Just press spacebar, I think. Is that going? No. Maybe I need to exit full screen so that I can. Yeah, so I can play it. Here we go.
And we are ready.
Hi, we're Duran Duran. You caught up with us in our natural habitat, the studio. But this summer, we're going to be playing some live shows, so we're looking forward to seeing you there.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, that was rubbish.
That was good.
That was good. Look forward to seeing you in London.
It's like a Blue Priesthood trailer, that was. It was great.
Natural habitat. Hi. Here they are. Their natural habitat.
Please tell me now. Please tell me now.
For many, sadly, actually getting close to a member of Duran Duran would have to wait until the next time.
Not everybody is going to remember things the way that I remember them.
When people say, is it crazy being in a band? Yes. A lot of the time, not for the reasons you would ever imagine.
This was where world domination started.
One person threw 3 bras on stage. I thought, and 2 pairs of knickers. I thought, she's definitely not wearing any underwear now. totally irresponsible, screwing as many girls as you can, drinking as much booze as you can, taking as much drugs as you can. You can do it for a while, but you can't do it forever.
It's like rock and roll love at first sight.
I started my first band so I could play Wild Boys in my school talent show, and I'm playing guitar that might potentially be erased from a new Duran Duran album. I've really made it now.
How do you feel about a clothes change halfway through the set into something really like rubbery?
It's been really lovely working with this band, but all good things must come to an end.
It wasn't very good, was it? She's walking away.
New York's Broadway saw some quite extraordinary scenes when the British pop group Duran Duran went to sign autographs at a video store. It turned out to be reminiscent of the days when the Beatles took the United States by storm.
That was great.
Yeah.
One of the best, I think.
Well, you guys sang it differently. No, you didn't. Yeah, you did. Absolutely you did. And we all noticed it. You are wrong.
I actually wanted to hit somebody.
The rest of the band has described the relationship with him as unworkable and one which couldn't be resolved.
We took a lot of our image from glam rock.
Did I get fed up with the fans that followed him around all the time?
Never.
Nah. When they stop following us around, that's when we'll start to get worried, I think.
Okay. I'm going to close that and close that, and hopefully you were able, hopefully somebody would have said something if you couldn't see it. Was everybody able to see that? Okay, perfect, awesome. And hear it? Okay. Like you said, experiment for me. I don't think I've done the YouTube via Zoom before. Perfect. So yeah, so Princess Diana was actually a big Duran fan, and in fact, it's mostly known that she liked Elton John, right? I mean, most people know that, but her favorite band was absolutely Duran Duran, and she did some very fanish kinds of things, including sneaking into Simon Le Bon's dressing room. So there's a whole kind of speculation on some of that, like her behavior with that, where that is concerned. So at this point, let's see, I think I am going to, all right, tell me what you want. Do you want me to keep talking about this, where I meet Simon and my stories, or do you want to get on Second Life? I mean, we can continue this next time, but I kind of want to get it over with. I kind of just want to finish this. How you guys feeling? Scout's like, whatever you want. Any other input? Sam, you're muted.
I'd say go for it.
Go for it. Go for it. Talk about it. Okay, cool. Okay, let's get the drama out of the way so I can relax. I can relax next week. How's that? Okay. Okay. So participatory culture, hopefully you know this by now because it's in your textbook, and I think you've been tested on it already in your quizzes, right? And in your midterm. So the idea that the distinction between producers and consumers has been reduced and sometimes even erased, as both are now actively engaged as players in the flow of media. So there's a reason I have Bugs Bunny and the Penguin. Remember I mentioned I was a fan of Warner Brothers Bugs Bunny cartoons, in particular, Looney Tunes. Anytime I am feeling stressed, I have a DVD of a bunch of the old cartoons, and I just pop those in. They make me feel better. Even though there's a load of issues with some of those, right? I mean, today we watch them today with today's critical eye, and you're like, ooh, was that racist? Is that racist? So there's surely a load of things. But anyway, I'll tell you why this particular one with the Penguin and Bugs Bunny appealed to me, or why it resonates now. Yeah, why it resonates now. Okay, so So I mentioned I had already met Simon at a signing or after a show that was a signing. I did the typical, again, I say I'm not a groupie, but I did the typical waiting at the backstage door. That's how I got that autograph. Anyway, this is a different time. And but this was the first time I actually got to really talk to him, because at those autograph signing things, so I'd met him several times actually already, but at those autograph signing things, those are fast, there's a lot of people around, and the band members are being minded. I mean, there's somebody pushing them along down the line, like, you gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go. Like, you can't really stay and talk to any one person very long. So I guess this was the first more substantial encounter, and there were many after this. So this was 2007. This was 2007. And I saw them many, many, many times, or sort of met up with them many, many, many times after shows, between shows, whatever. Remember, I lived in England and they live in England. Between 2007 and 2012. So there was quite a bit of opportunity to interact. At this particular one, this first time I really had quality time, I guess, with Simon. My best friend, Christina, was there, and she was very unhappy about the shenanigans that were taking place with some of the other fans and band members. In particular, there was some drug taking. I did not partake, you should know. I did drink. I was quite smashed, I think, in that photo. And so was Simon. But and I think his eyes, he looks a little stoned too. But anyway, so Christina was she had her opinions about drugs of any kind. And she did drink alcohol, but she really didn't even like pot. And so she really was, she was disappointed. I mean, the thing is, we knew based on that clip you just saw, right? And everything we knew about Duran Duran, that they had taken a lot of drugs in the 80s, especially hard drugs like cocaine and stuff. And so she knew that her favorite band member, who's a different person than this one, she knew that he actually is in, what is it called? Narcanon. So Narcotics Anonymous. He's a recovering addict. She knew this stuff. So I was just kind of surprised at her reaction to it all. Like, she was like, my idols fell off the pedestal. Like, I don't want to be a fan of them anymore. Right. And she left early that night. She was like, I can't, I don't want this. I don't like it. Fortunately, I got her back the following year, because she didn't actually meet her favorite. Her favorite, since he is in Narcanon, doesn't party with fans, like doesn't even, doesn't go to the bar after the show or whatever, doesn't go to the after party because there's alcohol, right? So it's hard to catch up with him. He's the one who was that video was on the plane saying, "Oh, she's walking away. That wasn't very good, was it?" And he's by far the nicest band member, really genuinely nice person. But I was really happy that I managed to get Christina back in the fray, at least for, I think it may have only been one more show that she did after that. And it was hard to get her back. And she got to meet John Taylor, and he was super nice to her. And I was so grateful that she got that experience. Anyway, so so this, I'm not going to go into the great detail on this first night, but there were some of my friends, let's just say, became groupies. It was like 3 nights in a row, because we followed them from, was it San Antonio? It was like San Antonio, Austin, and Dallas, like 3 nights in a row. So everybody was smashed, exhausted. I mean, you're driving to the next gig hungover. I don't know how the band plays 3 days in a row at their age doing that, but anyway. And I mean, remember, this was actually the year after my divorce. I'm still kind of recovering, like, from the divorce, right? And as I mentioned before, with Simon having paid me attention from the stage or whatever, I had not had any male attention. Like I wasn't dating or whatever. So what a transitional, when we talk about transitional objects, right? With the Winnicott teddy bear, what a transitional object. It's like, whoa, I didn't know what hit me. And I fell, this was the Duran vortex for me. I fell right into it. I got sucked in because this was addictive. This behavior was addictive. Getting their attention was addictive. Being validated by a celebrity was addictive. And I know in hindsight, I had a problem. Like there needs to be a, what would that be? A Fanaholics Anonymous or like something like this wasn't good for me, right? It wasn't good for me because you can't maintain this lifestyle and be a serious person and get a doctorate and stuff. Anyway, okay, so that's what the 36 Hours of Madness was about. I won't go into great detail, but I will say talking about this auto-ethnography now is really hard for me because I really came to like Simon, like really came to like him as a person. And I have cut all ties like cold turkey now. And it just feels like some like friends of mine are lost or something. Like it's just this huge hole, right? And it was a transitional object from my marriage. So I mean, of course there's going to be a hole, right? So anyway, I wanted to mention this as well. Also what Duffett says about participatory culture is that the relationship between the producer and fan is changing. And I think what you just heard and saw there was some evidence of that this does not entirely negate that there are power relations. There are absolutely power relations between the groups. Simon is up here in his eyes. Okay. He's very conceited. And I'm down here, right? So that does not like, we're not like friends or anything like that, right? But it does reformulate. So the reason I had the Bugs Bunny, so I should explain this. The reason I had the frigid hair cartoon here and the Bugs Bunny penguin crying is this night you should, okay, so remember I had met Simon before, but never like actual quality time right before this picture was taken, which is right before he recognized me from all of the other times. He had been kind of a jerk. He didn't realize who I was, didn't recognize me. And like I said, he was, I think, stoned and drunk. And he made me cry. He made me sob, like sobbing, crying. And I am amazed that I was able to collect myself enough to, that's a nervous laugh in that picture too. It's not like a happy laugh. It's a very nervous laugh. So I was sobbing. And I was sobbing because here I meet my idol, or I get the chance to really talk to my idol. And he treats me like dirt, is what I felt like at first. This has happened more than once, in fact. But both times, and then it never happened again after the second time, he's been really, really, really nice once he realized what he did. This is not to say I should subject myself to, and a lot of people told me that as well. Like my best friend Lloyd now, why he hates Duran Duran and hates me being a fan of Duran Duran is how Simon treated me at times. It's like, why do you put yourself through that? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like a moth to flame. I don't know. I don't know why. So the ACA fan identity continued to be a problem for my research for a few reasons. Should I talk about Twitter first? So years later, right? So I still was following Duran Duran around and seeing shows and whatever. But we weren't connected on social media yet. And when I mean connected by, okay, some celebrities will like automatically follow you, right? If you follow them. Boy George is one. Or at least if you talk to them a few times, they will follow you back and talk to you. But Simon is not like that. And so, and in fact, these days he does not tweet at all unless it's about his, I'm rolling my eyes because I don't like it. He does this podcast now. I think it's weekly. It's kind of boring. Anyway, I don't like to listen to it. And so that's all he tweets about is like promoting his podcast thing. He's doing that during the pandemic because I'm sure he's bored out of his mind. He can't perform. for somebody who's super social like he is. That's got to be hard. Anyway, so back in the day, he was tweeting a lot, and I started trying to get his attention, like being like, "Hey, it's me. Hey, hey," but you know how it is when hundreds of people are tweeting like a celebrity or whatever. It's like a shot in the dark that they're going to notice. He finally noticed, and when he noticed, shock of all shocks to me at least, he followed me back, and then we started not only tweeting, like actually talking to each other in front of the world, right, but also on direct message. And this is probably where my friend Lloyd was really like, you need out of this. Like, this is bad. This is not a good thing. So one of the things was I started getting in trouble at work. So I was teaching at University of Sunderland at the time. And I also have mentioned here, got mentioned during my dissertation defense as well. But the first thing that happened was getting choked up thinking about it. The first thing that happened was I actually got called into the dean's office, who was my boss's boss, and said, "We're concerned about your social media activity." I was like, "I'm not doing anything. What are you what are you talking about?" The nature of the conversations. I was like, mm-hmm. And it turns out they didn't like my communicating with Simon Le Bon, and in large part because of the kind of things Simon Le Bon was saying to me, which are not my fault, right? But they felt that was like not reflective of what the university was about. The other thing was all of my research on, and I told Simon, so he stopped it because he was kind of being saying some naughty things on Twitter, and so he actually like redacted them, went back and actually deleted the tweets, and I could not believe it because nobody else could believe that either. Like, you actually got him to delete tweets. But so he was aware of my research, you should know, and I think that's one of the reasons that he paid me as much attention as he did. I didn't know what it was in those days, because it wasn't a word that we used then, but you hear it now. An influencer, a social media influencer. I didn't know what that was, but I think that's what was happening. Because I think I mentioned in an announcement to you 2 weeks ago, wasn't it 2 weeks ago, that I was a big name fan in the fan community. Well, it wasn't a good thing to be a big name fan. The fans kind of hate other big name hate big name fans. So those British fans, again, going back to that, I think they thought I was trying to elevate myself, right? By doing the research to make it look like I'm this like serious person, like almost like a journalist or something, and that I should be respected, and that suddenly I'm respected by the band. I'm respected by a band member. He's being really public talking to me, and everybody sees it and everybody knows it. They hated me for that, hated me. So one of the things that happened, two things at work, aside from getting pulled into the dean's office, is the information that I got from the groupie participation in my research, I got so much information that they shared with me, and it's great stuff. The university was concerned about being sued, not by the groupies, because they volunteered the information, but being sued by the band. Because the band, certain band members, particularly Simon and his wife, have sued tabloids a lot over Simon's alleged affairs, which, okay, maybe this is another part I should maybe go, okay, I'm pausing that, but I need to pause the record. All right. The first question. So they did this, I feel like, on purpose to throw me off the committee, my dissertation committee, to throw me off. The very first question, number one, Tony, what is your relationship with Simon Le Bon? I was like, what? Like, no, you're not really asking me that question. And I answered it in the most, I told the truth, but I answered it in the most academic way I could. And I said, Simon Le Bon thinks I'm a dork. I mean, that's, you know, I don't know, he's nice to me and stuff, but he, you know, it's clear, like I mentioned before about the hierarchy. He knows he's up here and he knows I'm down here. Anyway, and kind of like put that idea out of their heads. Like, don't even think. Like, I was insulted. I was so insulted. And I didn't tell them that at the time, but I told them, I told some of them, we went to the pub after, so, as is practice in the UK, how I felt about it. And it eventually got back to the person who asked the question, who wasn't at the pub with us. But I told his wife, because his wife came to the pub. Then you never knew what John did. And I told her, and she's like, and so she went back and she told him. He knew he shouldn't have done that, but anyway. That's what they do. I mean, that's the nature of things like defenses and things like interviews. In fact, you'll get asked questions to throw you off intentionally so people can see how you handle yourself. Okay. With that, we're out of time. So we didn't get to do Second Life. I hope you guys are okay with that. Do your best with that quiz this week. So you'll be in there anyway to do the quiz. We'll talk about it next week. If too many people have issues with the quiz, I will offer some sort of accommodation, maybe let you take it again or something. I think the questions are easy enough that you can figure them out, though. You just need to spend a little time at our classroom clicking on things and you'll figure stuff out. Okay, but do send me questions or post them in our Q&A discussion forum about that or about your term project over the week. Okay, so I want to make sure everybody is feeling okay, you know what to do. Thank you so much for sticking with me today and listening to my long-winded, crazy auto-ethnography, and hopefully now you understand why I was a bit funny about it. There is a little bit more to tell you, but it's basically just wrapping up from the academic point of view. So we'll do that next time. Okay. Well, thanks, you guys. I hope that you have a good week. And again, reach out if you need anything. Okay, great. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.